Welcome in, NBA people, to another edition of DFS Diary. I'm your buddy Choppadong. Of course, you already know where to find me out on Twitter at Choppadong. You know that I'm doing February sweeps trying to buy people memberships into DFS Army if they give me retweets out on Twitter. And you know that we like to run through NBA player pools. So let's dive into that part today and take a Draftkings approach with a couple of tips along the way. And I'll probably dive into our domination station and show you how I play with balancing out the value and stuff. The video might get a little long. I apologize for that. Hopefully you've got the time to sit down and listen to me. If not, you can take the player pool and run. Go to your own optimizer, have your own fun with it. I am a lead content contributor and editor over at dfsarmy.com. You can find the link down in the description. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, to trigger a 20% off discount if you're wanting to explore the content, tools, and coaching that have the Army hats all over the leaderboards, FanDuel, and DraftKings alike. Today we're going to be focused a little bit more on DraftKings. So kind of dive in. The one thing I will tell you this is tip number one with NBA type situations. New Orleans on a back-to-back going into Denver. Not usually a phenomenal situation for the visiting team. Not saying Denver is going to destroy them, but I am saying New Orleans is going to have a rough go tonight, and they really don't have anybody on the court to put a lot of talent out there in the first place. So that is cautionary tale number one. Obviously, when we look at over-unders and game totals and things, we're looking for the higher ones. So this is going to be something that's going to catch a lot of people's eye, and that's why I mentioned that. I would just say fair warning on the New Orleans side of things. We're going to generally want those guys in the higher scoring games in our lineups, but the main thing that I do is I go through my player pool. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen. I'm just going to shoot the names to you. If you know what I do, I take our research station and I sort by descending. That way I can cut out all the multi-position eligibility and get the overall matchup strength of these players position by position by position. I can gauge things. If I show you the center spot tonight, I can gauge things just on the strength and the depth of the position alone off of the matchup. This is a pretty deep position tonight at center. So, I mean, of course, we may use some of these guys as power forwards. We may put them in our forward spot, may put them in our utility spot. They're all over here on the value side of things, pulling okay value. So that may be one area that we focus on, is loading up with center eligible players. Something like a John Collins, Al Horford type might be better off put in the power forward category so we can open it up for a center only, and then we can use the forward again if we want to for a Vonleh or a Collins, and then use the utility for another center. And we can get upwards of 4 centers in our lineup tonight for all those rebounds and easy putbacks. Now, does it always make sense? No, but that may be one area you go. These are the things you should be checking off in your head as you're starting to review a slate, starting to preview a slate. That's an interesting way you could attack things today. If I look at, another spot like, say, power forward, where's the other spot? There we go. Hopefully we see it not as deep. The other one, the and one rating of 10 or higher came down into here, down to a 12 on the center list. It's right here on power. So power forwards are pretty weak tonight. So if we've got somebody who's power forward only, which Markkanen, if we use him, he's going to probably have to go in that power forward spot. But on a weaker position like this, we may use center or small forward eligible players to kind of cover up that gap. And then we're going to be focused on this matchup, and we might be willing to pay up a little bit more for a Horford or a Collins in this spot, being that the position is relatively scarce. So those are things, again, that we look at as we go. But what I wanted to do, again, was just show you briefly the list and what I look for. I look for this and one column. Then I will go sort by the value column and run through them all again. I will filter out, in this case, I will filter out by greater than 28 or 29 minutes because I only want starters. I don't want bench guys necessarily. A little difficult on DraftKings when we've got to play them all. Sometimes it makes sense to take a really, really low minute projected guy and then, of course, run him out there and then buy yourself up into other spots. It's very viable over on FanDuel where you get to drop that low guy. But where we have on DraftKings, sometimes there are guys that pop in there. Like if Kyrie sits, Terry Rozier, again, those are the types of spots we might do something like that. He's not projected for 30 minutes right now, but a situation may open up later today where he is definitely going to get that kind of run. And as we know, minutes equal fantasy points. I don't care if you're a 0.2 fantasy point per minute guy or a 1.6 fantasy point per minute guy. the more minutes you get, the more points you're going to score. You can't score points if you're sitting on the bench. I look at the who's hot category and I sort by the 3-game versus 10-game average to see who's running hot. So what ideally I'm going to do on a big slate like this, I'm going to take about the top 6 or 7 guys out of each position eligibility. Because we've got multiple eligible positions, I need to expand my list a little bit because I'm going to have a lot of overlap at point guard, at shooting guard, small forward. What I'm looking for is guys that I have a decent enough list that I can then make an overall player pool with, take it into our domination station optimizer, and start tweaking with it. So without further ado, let me just run through the list for you. The guys, I will mention the guys on the list, but I will mention the guys as either 2-category or 3-category guys. Because if you've heard me mentioning lately the poker analogy of having a great starting hand in Texas Hold'em, you need high card strength, suitedness, and connectedness. And what those 3 things do is they lean towards an ace king of hearts or something because it has all 3 categories. Therefore, it's a very, very strong starting hand in poker. It does not mean you're going to win. It means that if you play those cards more often than you play Jack 6 offsuit, it means you're going to win more in the long run. So we're focused on making positive EV, expected value decisions in the long run. We know there's going to be short-term variance, ups and downs, but we know that over the long run, and in DFS, guys, it's really, really, really long, longer than in poker in some cases. It's really long. You're going to have the bankroll to withstand and ride out those ups and downs to get to the end game. That may take all season. That may take into next year. That may take across this season and into baseball. I don't know what your individual story is going to be. That's where the coaching inside DFS Army helps. I don't know. We can talk about that and we can constantly review, processes and things like that. This is just what works. So at least works for me. So let's dive in. Point guard. Doncic, 2 categories. Fox, 2 categories. Drew Holiday, 2 categories. Damian Lillard, 2 categories. Trae Young, 1. Mike Conley, 2 categories. Kemba Walker, 1. Kyle Anderson, 1. Trey Burke, 1. Darren Collison, 1. Terry Rozier, 2. Marcus Smart, 1. Jared Bayless, 1. CJ McCollum, 1. Meaning they landed in either the and 1, the value, or the hot column, 1. 1 each. 2 columns means they can be an and 1 and value. They can be value and hot. They can be in 2 different columns. We don't have a 3-column player yet. When we get 3-column players, those are going to be generally the core we want to build around. Shooting guard. Drew Holiday, 2 categories. Buddy Hield, 1. Bradley Beal, 1. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 2. Donovan Mitchell, 1. Gary Harris, 2. Zach LaVine, 2. Jaylen Brown, 1. Justin Holiday, 1. Wes Matthews, 1. Okogie, 1. Terry Rozier again, 2. Jared Bayless, 1. CJ McCollum, 1. Anthony Wiggins, 1. And Tim Hardaway Jr., 1. If you have to pause it, rewind it, right, that's fine. I'm telling you the player pool I'm going to be using tonight. Small forward. Doncic again, 2. Hield, 1. Taron Prince, 1. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 2. Thad Young, 1. Which is really interesting. Oh, that is going to be a really fun one coming up. Put a big old star next to Thad Young. Harrison Barnes, 1. Josh Richardson, 1. Kyle Anderson, 1. Jaylen Brown, 2. Justin Holiday, 1. Otto Porter, 1. Justin Tatum, 1. Wes Matthews did not make the value list on the small forward side, but he did on the shooting guard side. That means he's more valuable as a shooting guard to you than he is as a small forward to you. Get it? Darren Miller or whatever, 1. Wiggins, 1. Tim Hardaway Jr., 1. Wayne Selden with a rare appearance, 1. Power forward. John Collins, 3. And 1 matchup. Running hot. Bringing value. All 3. Probably, possibly, core play. Okay? Thad Young. You just heard me mention him on the small forward list as only 1. He only hit the and 1 matchup. The power forward category, 3. I've not seen that in a couple of weeks. Tells me he's way more valuable as a power forward than he has as a small forward. Small forward, we've got more depth, we've got more options, we've got more choices, more mobility, more maneuverability. Don't have as much. I already showed you the center and the power forward spot, and we saw power forward was kind of scarce. Thad Young, 3. Interesting. Lots of weight should be put on that. Bagley, 1. Barnes, 2. Harrison Barnes is 2. Al Horford, 3. He is another one that does not show up on the center list except for but one column, the hot column. Horford's not a value according to the center pool, the player pool in the center spot. He's not got the best and one matchup of the top 5 and one matchups as a center, but he does as a power forward. That's how scarce that position is tonight. So Al Horford, 3. Dwayne Dedmon, 1. Jason Tatum, 2. Justin Tatum, whatever. Otto Porter, 1. Mark Cannon, 2. Miller and Vonleh, 1 each. Center spot, then we'll review. Jokic, 2. Miles Turner, 1. DeAndre Jordan, 2. Hassan Whiteside, 1. Rudy Gobert, 2. Nurkic, 1. Cat, 2. Okafor, 2. But Horford, 1. And Vonleh, 1. So here's you can even cut out the 1 guys, the 1 column guys. It gets a little tougher to build lineups around it, but you can cut them out and deal with only the 2s and 3s. And then maybe whatever you want to add in on your whatever. A 1 column guy is not super strong. He makes the list, but he's not super strong. A 2 column guy is stronger. A 3 column guy is very strong. Obviously, again, poker scenario. Point guards, you have Doncic, Fox, Drew Holiday, Lillard, Conley, Terry Rozier as your 2 column guys. Your stronger plays. Everybody else is 1 column. Shooting guard, Drew Holiday, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Gary Harris, Zach LaVine, Terry Rozier again are your 2 column guys. Everybody else is 1. Small forward, Doncic, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Harrison Barnes. I'm sorry, Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, 2 categories. So that's only 3 guys as small forwards. Very wide open, very mediocre feeling right now. Very mediocre depth, lots of depth, very random position tonight. May very well be the determining cause in whether or not you win tonight. Now, because power forwards are so strong, could you take a power forward / small forward guy, throw him in your small forward, and get kind of a little bit of double position scare? You might, but there might be a 1 column guy that is just because there's so many to choose from. If the player pool is shorter, he might appear in a couple of columns. There might be a stronger play in there somewhere. That's where your research is going to have to hone in. That's where your research is going to have to determine, do I use a power forward over there, or do I use, a stronger small forward that really is kind of a trick because he's only showing 1 column, but that's only because the position is so damn deep that nobody's going to look strong in there, even though there might be some that are. This is just a first glance preview, player pool establishing type of thing, showing you kind of how to get your process started correctly. You're the one that has to then go in and hone in and dig down deep and figure and kind of unearth the diamonds. I'm throwing you buckets of coal on a conveyor belt. You get to sift through all of the lumps of coal and find the diamonds. You know what I'm saying? Power forward. This is where our core is coming from tonight. Collins, Thad Young, Horford, 3 column guys. Harrison Barnes, Justin Tatum, and Mark Cannon are your 2 column guys. And I can't believe I'm getting the Justin Jason thing mixed up right now, but I am. Tatum's even a St. Louis guy. The center spot, Jokic, Jordan, Gobert, Cat, Okafor, all 2 column guys. Okay, so that's roughly your player pool. Let's take it over to the domination station. Let's play around with it a little bit, because this is what I'm getting a lot of VIPs asking about, is how am I going to mess with this? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here, I'm going to uncheck these boxes, and I'm going to check back just my point guards that I like, the guys that are on my list, right? Kemba Walker, Conley, Fox, Trae Young was on the list, McCollum was on the list, LaVine was on the list, Darren Collison made the list, Terry Rozier made the list. I'm going to have to really watch Rozier. We got to watch the Kyrie news there. Winslow, Rubio, Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith might have been on the list. Peyton, Marcus Smart made the list. Dwayne Wager. I'll tell you another little tip. Marcus Smart has had 2 good games. The last couple of games, Kyrie sat when everybody's going Terry Rozier, Terry Rozier, Terry Rozier. Guess who had monster games? Marcus Smart. Nobody was talking about him. I played him 2 games ago. Didn't 2 situations ago. I didn't play in the last situation. Could kick myself for it because he went off again. Wade, Bayless, Trier, Burke. Was Burke on my list? Burke is on my value list. There's why 6.07x projected. Tyler Johnson's questionable. I omitted him in case you're wondering. Kyle Anderson, not really a super strong play, in my opinion. Shelvin Mack, Monk, Yogi Ferrell. Okay, not a lot down in here. So now we've got to go through. What we're doing is we're setting this player pool up. I'm only going to get guys out of here that I am happy with, that I want in my list. Right? I'm getting rid of the junk. And by getting rid of the junk, I'm making sure that whatever these optimizers spit out, I, for the most part, have controlled it. And I am only getting guys that I want to see. That's what makes me feel better about a lineup. When it spits out a lineup, I can go, ooh, I like that. The reason why is because it's only giving me guys I like, because I controlled it from the beginning. And I'm sorry, it takes a little bit of time to set it up. It just does. Jason Tatum, God, remember that. He even does Emo's pizza commercials here in St. Louis. Otto Porter, I don't know why I started calling him Justin. That just, man, sometimes, we all go, maybe I'm going through a little bit of memory variance or memory volatility right now with a little bit of this up and down bullshit. Jamichael Green, Batum, Crowder, Green, Hoyter, Bembry, Torrey Craig. I wish you guys could yell at me if I was skipping one that I mentioned from earlier today already. That'd be great. Trey Lyles, don't remember if I mentioned him or not. Ellington, you really get junky down there at the bottom. Power forward. I will remember these guys. Collins, Horford, Markkanen. Interesting that Sabonis isn't in there. Vonleh was in there. Portis made the list, I believe. He won't make the list at a 4.03, so we don't even need to check him, honestly. Denver, Bryant, Bagley. I know Bagley. I wrote him down at some point. Knox, Marvin Williams, Amino. See, part of the reason you got to go through and write these guys down is so you can look on a piece of paper and look at their names and understand that these are the guys. The circles, I circle them really hard when they're 2 and 3 column guys. That way I can really, really focus on these guys and really pay attention to who I want to be playing tonight. Then I can go and enter this stuff in here, and you'll see me start playing with it here in a second. Because we're almost done here. Jokic, Cat, Nurkic, Gobert. Was Gasol on that list? He was not. Randall, Whiteside, Jordan, Miles Turner. Not on the... Yeah, he was. Okafor, Sabonis, Will Cauley-Stein, Portis, Dedmon, Bryant, Jackson, Favors, Millsap, Len, Taj. No cheapies today, it looks like. All right. So that's roughly our list for now. That's the raw list. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make 5. You can make 10 if you want. I don't care. I default to 5 and 3. Oopsie. Got to go through here. Here's the one thing I'll do. I'll take a couple of these chumps. And I'll just drive their projections down even more. Now it'll never use them. Weren't going to be used anyway. Now I'll optimize it and I dodge that little rule. That's a stupid rule for optimizers Draftkings is doing. So easy to work around. Pretty common knowledge too. So, Fox, Bogdanovich, Tatum, Bagley, Towns, Burke, Porter, Collins. It does not look like what I was wanting to see. I would like to see some bigger names in there. Lillard would be great. Bogdan would be okay. Jokic would be okay. Karl-Anthony Towns is all right. But these are just kind of icky lineups. Projected early in the day at about 280. So let's go and fuck some shit up. Let's see. Who is in here we don't? Bogdanovich is fine. Kyle Anderson's fine. Let's go back through the list and let's go grabbing some of the guys that we like. Justin, we know Drew back to back going into Denver, not a great spot. Not pulling a ton of value at the 4.6. Never going to be used anyway. If I did like him, I could lock him. I could jack his projection way up to where he goes over a 5. I try to kind of, industry standards 5x for everybody. I'm kind of trying to use the 5x number and use that as my control because it's going to give me close to that 280 to 300 projected points for the lineup as a whole. So it helps me relate to maybe which one's still stronger, which one's not. I could jack all these guys up to 5.5x or 6x and use it that way if I wanted to. Doesn't really matter. What I'm going to try and do is establish most of them at about that 5x barrier so that there's no 7x's and there's no 4.5x's on players that I like because the value or the optimizer itself is going to be looking for that value, which is what we look for in daily fantasy sports. We're trying to roster guys that are underpriced. Try to buy them on sale. Why? Because it affords my cap to go over an effective $60,000. It affords it to go to $70,000, $80,000 at 5x, which gets me to 350, 400 points. When you're still capped at 60,000 because you didn't choose correctly, it buys me more points. That's the nature of the game. So what I'm trying to do is find those mispriced players and prioritize them. But when I've found really, really good players and don't know who might exceed their value projection on the night, I'm going to tend to take them all, put them back down at about 5x. Because I've already limited my player pool. I'm going to try and limit it to 5x and then let the optimizer kind of randomly mix them and match them. And then I'm going to choose the lineups that I like based on the personal feel that I have for those players and their situations tonight. I'm going to read my coach's articles today. I'm going to study the coach's tips. I'm going to do all of that stuff because I'm going to try and get a little bit of outside influences here and there, here and there. My player pool is pretty set. Not very often do I reach in and grab a guy and say he was not in my player pool at all, but oh, by the way, I need to throw him in there and lock him. I don't do that very often because I trust my research. But I will let it influence me as the guys that are already on my list as to which ones I might like a little bit more. See, like if again, Drew Holiday, there's cases to be made for him. He's the only guy on the team right now. Everybody else is freaking hurt. So even though he's dead exhausted going into Denver tonight, up into the altitude on late travel and whatever, he might still be the only one that can do anything. So he might still hit value because he's the new James Harden for now. He doesn't maybe have 80-point upside, but he's the only thing the team's going to flow through, maybe. So be that as it may, I'll probably leave him alone and I'll give more weight to the back-to-back in Denver thing than I will in his own ability to really have a monster game. Doncic, though, hit a lot of those lists. He was one of my two column guys. I will definitely boost him up to 5x. Lillard, I'll leave him at 5x. Donovan Mitchell was only a one column guy, but he can do damage in a faster paced game out in Portland, maybe. So I might boost him. That's not going to do much for me. If I want him mixing in, I've got to get him to the 5x. If I want, I can keep him just a smidge under. By what, going 41.75-ish. I can control this manually, just under 5x. Kemba Walker, just at 5x. If I want to bump him up a little bit to the 5x, I can do that, right? So these guys are all going to be viewed fairly equally in the optimizer's eyes. Mike Conley was also a two-star guy, and he's running hot lately, but I'm going to have to bump him 10x to get him over the 5. That's fine. 5.1, not really. We're not going to split hairs with the 4.97 and the 5. I mean, you can if you want to. Really likes Darren Fox, but I might bring Darren Fox down a little bit. Back down to the 5. Trae Young, probably not a big deal. Was only a one column guy. Fox was a two column guy, but I'm going to want him in there. I'm going to treat him about equally with a Conley, a Lillard, Doncic, whatever. I'm not going to maybe think, oh shit, he needs to be totally more valuable than all of them. Does not like McCollum tonight at all for whatever reason. I will actually trust that. See, there's no point when the optimizer picks him at 4x. There's no point in me juicing him to 6x tonight, thinking that I know more than the optimizer, right? I use the optimizer when guys are kind of close to kind of tweak them a little bit and play my favorites as tiebreakers, but I'm not going to take some schmo and put him all the way up into the playables very often. You know, I will do the reverse though. I will take the monster value guys and bring them back down to earth, but I will not take the shit guys and throw them into the mix. I'll just leave it alone. In fact, I might even just uncheck McCollum. No chance at getting in there. If you like Levine or Levine, you give him a little boost, get him up closer to the 5x. Darren Collison's going to be over 5x. See, it's going to be pulling these guys, so I might back them down a smidge, right? I don't know that I want Rozier down because, again, if Rozier, I'd probably put him at about 31, get him up over that 5x number. And I might give him a little bit more weight later on when I haven't looked at the news yet today, so pardon me, but Kyrie might be out. If Kyrie's out, this guy needs to be sitting at like 34, and he needs to be in every damn lineup of yours. That's fine. So if we put him at 31.5, get him up there with the 5.18s and stuff like the other guys, that's fine. Dennis Smith's probably fine where he is. Marcus Smart at 5.2. We'll see what the optimizer does with him. Trey Burke, sorry, you're coming down to earth, bro. I don't mind you necessarily, but I don't want you any more valuable than the others. Tyler Johnson's questionable. If we find out he gets the start, fine. I'll maybe inject him into my player pool. But again, not at 6x. I'm just not going to do that. Kyle Anderson at 6x. He's only a one-column guy today. I don't want him in there even this much. So I'll bump him down to just over 5. And then if it pulls him, fine. Okay, see, I'm going to go through. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it's boring and tedious. Do you want to fucking win? Huh? Do you want to just click a button and pray the machine does all the work for you? Or do you want to actually win? Bradley Beal with Wall out. Strong play. Usually. I don't know that 5.2 is going to be the mark. So I'm doing a lot of tweaking and jamming. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to walk through the rest of these, and then I'm going to come back and show you what we do from there. Okay? 1, 2, 3, pause. All right, I went through the rest of the small forward, power forward, center stuff, adjusted those guys. I want to come back and show you kind of a couple of things that I noticed that I did. Jason Tatum at 5.34x, I'm dropping him down. I don't want to see a ton of him in my lineups tonight. The reason why is he's inconsistent. He's generally way up and way down. Plus, I'm noticing a lot of that Boston value again. Boston's great, but I don't need 4 of them in my lineup because then I become too dependent on a Boston good game. It's just not a random way to go or a spread out safe way to go about things. It's fine if you want to tourney stack, a bunch of Boston and throw Horford and Tatum and Rozier and Smart and all those guys in there, and they all bring value. But again, it's hard to peg all 4 of them correctly. So you might want to pick and choose a couple here and a couple there. Power forward was a very important spot, as we already noticed, which means that we're going to want to keep a lot of these guys in there. See, Julius Randle was not in the player pool at all. This is interesting because he sat out last game. He was hurt or whatever. And Drew was the only guy in there. Drew was the only guy in there. So what does that mean? That means that Randall's actually on rest. If Randall comes back tonight and they unleash the beast, I can believe the 5.5 even in Denver on the back-to-back because it's a little bit misleading because he didn't play a back-to-back. If I get word that he's going to play tonight, then I will come back and I will check his box and probably he becomes a pretty valuable guy. Now, I might adjust his numbers, back down to planet Earth a little bit, but I might put him a little bit over the 5.1 guys or so because I want him to maybe pull a little bit more. Now, maybe I do, maybe I don't, but as of right now, I'm thinking ahead for what's coming near lock, right? We said Horford was probably a decent play today. Markkanen maybe, but Markkanen was a 1-column guy. Horford was a 2-column guy at the power forward spot, or 3-column guy. Power forward. We might even give him a little bit more weight at the power forward spot. So 35.9, let's say, and get him up a little bit higher into this. So maybe he pulls in, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I haven't run this a second time yet. Vonleh was a 1-column guy, and I'm not going to mess with his projection much. Probably don't even need to check the box. Tatum again. Porter, Thad Young was a core guy. Bagley was predicted way up high. Watch this. He was a 5.7x guy. That may pan out. I don't trust it in every damned lineup I put out there. So I'm bringing him back down to earth a touch. So 5.19 is fine. If he then starts showing up, so be it. Harrison Barnes should pull in about like Bagley. Depends on what the salary is going to say. Does it need a $5,400 guy, $5,200 guy? It's going to say they're about the same. So those are basically the little moves that I make and I go through here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to rerun the optimizer and see if we don't get more of the guys that we like in our lineups. Fox, Wiggins, Bogdanovich, Porter, Collins, Rozier, Bagley, Smart, nothing still. Kind of meh. And in fact, it dropped our fantasy points quite a bit. Didn't like what we did. Okay? Smart, Beal, Wiggins, Collins, Bagley, Bogdanovich, Thad Young. I want to see the power forward guys in there. I want to see the Collins, the Thad Youngs. There's Collins. There's Thad Young. The Horfords. Who else? Some of those guys are the ones that I'm looking for to see that I identified as my core plays. And I have to go back in and keep retweaking this thing. If I don't like De'Aaron Fox for whatever reason, I go lower his points. And I would do it right here. He's in 60% of my lineups. I would take him down to, say, 39.5, and then I would go re-click the optimize button, and he would disappear some more. If I really like Terry Rozier, then I boost him up a little bit more, say call it 32 points. And I should see him in more lineups going forward, okay? The other thing, you have to play. You have to experiment with it. You have to look at your overall lineups and then go back in, watch these numbers, who's exposed, 80%, 100%, whatever. I don't do this a lot with the max and min exposures. Why not? Because they're not mixing in. If I had an 80% cap on somebody like Thad Young, it'd go Thad Young, Thad Young, Thad Young, Thad Young, and then whoop, he'd be out of that bottom lineup. I'd rather see Thad Young. He's not in what is my default optimal lineup. Instead, he's in this one, this one, this one, and this one. And he's in the small forward spot in this one. That's kind of cool. So I'm looking at the mixture of these players, and I'm going to try and pick a lineup or two that I really, really like. And I'm going to keep trying to play with these numbers, these value numbers, and these points or the smiley faces until I get a mix of guys here that I see this lineup and go, ooh, I like that. That has a lot of the players in it that I targeted. I'm going to look back at my sheet of paper that I wrote all those players down, and all of the guys that are 2 and 3 column guys, I want as many of them in my lineup as possible. And I am going to control the optimizer and the domination station, and I am going to try and get these guys mixing in more randomly than just here, just here, just here, and then gone because I put some 60% cap on them. If I want, I can go back out here and expand it out to 8 lineups. Who cares? It's my tool, my choice, my game, my money, my results. But I know my process works. I know that it cuts a lot of the fluff in the very beginning. And then it starts mixing it. I don't know who's going to have the good game or not. I know who should. I know the optimizer can be wrong with its inherent default projections when it's giving a guy a 7x and then all of a sudden it's jamming him into every damned one of my lineups. I need to control that. I need to say, yes, he should have a great game. But what if he doesn't? I don't want him everywhere in my lineups. I can usually get around that. Maybe not in a GPP and win a GPP, but in cash games and leagues and stuff, I can get around that. I didn't need Noel last night. I saw a line that went for 340 without him. That's fine. You didn't need him last night to win if you got a 340 without him. So stop putting so much importance on the 7x number inside the domination station or inside our projections or something. Stop putting so much weight on, oh, I've got to have him everywhere because the optimizer is putting him in it. No! Take control of the optimizer yourself. Tweak their projection numbers. See, look, 101%. That's an awful lot of lineups, man. Terry Rozier, because I gave him that extra half a point bump, boom, he showed up in everything. Which is what I would do if he starts tonight and Kyrie doesn't. John Collins is, everywhere now. Bogdanovich, I liked him. Thad Young, liked him. Bagley, liked him. Wiggins was okay. Wiggins is another one like Jason Tatum, where he's up and down a lot. And you need to temper that one, temper your expectations on that one. If you really like his matchup tonight, go ahead and put him in more. But bear in mind, he's probably more of a GPP player. Porter, fine. Smart, fine. Lillard, fine. I'm looking to make sure that I've got, 2 Boston guys? Boston. I don't want to see tons and tons from, 1, 2, 3. See, like 3 starting to get to be a little bit much. Rozier, Brown, Boston, they're deep value guys, though, so I get it. But that's starting to make me a little bit nervous. I'd rather keep it a couple. And I find it interesting that Horford's not in much. It's mostly Rozier, Smart, Then Jaylen Brown popped in before Horford even came in there. But these are all things, if you like Horford, you're going to have to go back in here and find him and bump his points up a little bit, 36.4, let's say, give him half a point, rerun it, and we'll see if he pops in more than one lineup this time. There's Horford. There's Horford. So how many did he pop into? Now he's in 4 lineups. Maybe that's more like it for me. Maybe I'm like, okay, that's fine. About half my lineups is great. But that's how you have to play with this optimizer, and that's how you have to tweak it to make it give you what you want to see based on your research or based on the coach's research. Don't just go in there and set a couple of rules and go, oh, I lost. You lost because you're not putting the time and effort in. If you don't want to put the time and effort in, then that's fine. Treat this as a hobby. Don't treat it seriously. Don't think you're ever going to make a ton of money doing it. Because the people that are true professionals, whether it be singing on stage, whether it be teaching a class, whether it be, the award-winning, cop on the street, or do you think Jerry Rice just kind of showed up and started catching balls? Or do you think that the sucker practice running routes and getting how many steps does it take me to get to 8 yards out and then cut, and do I need to cut on my right foot or my left foot, and what foot do I need to step with first, and where can I throw a shuffle step in there to throw that DB off, and do you think that guy is going to forget more about football than I will ever know? Why? Because he's a true professional and I'm not. Pretty simple. If you want to be the best, you've got to put in the effort to become the best. It's that simple. If not, that's fine. I don't want to be a professional football player. I like playing football in the backyard. Doesn't mean I have to give up the game. It means that I need to give up on my expectations of being the best that ever played. That's what I'm getting at. So if you don't want to be a professional DFS player, don't put in the work. That's fine. But lower your expectations down to I'm a hobbyist. I'm out here to enhance my experience in watching the games. I love talking theory with these guys. They give me some hot tips once in a while through conversation. That's fine. We got a bunch of those guys in here. But we also have the tools for those that want to take it to the next level and become more serious. We've got a little bit for everybody. Okay? That's the DFS Army. That's what my videos are trying to produce for you guys, trying to show you guys. Hopefully you see some of that. Hopefully you see how to tweak that tool a little bit. Hopefully that helps. I'm going to come back. I didn't do it yesterday because we didn't have the research station out, but I'm going to come back today with a golf research station for those of you that want to play Waste Management Open this week. So stay tuned for that. Hockey's just a 2-game slate. Probably won't do a video for hockey. But that's kind of what's on the slate for today. So give me a like, give me a subscribe, follow me, ring the notification bell so you get my videos when they come out. If you enjoy them, comment. I will try to respond to as many comments as I possibly can. I like you guys steering the ship. I like it when you tell me what to focus on and what not to. It's great. I kind of just do what you guys want me to do anyway because I'm not doing this. I'm doing a little bit for myself, but I'm doing it more to, just spread the word, help people, and obviously recruit you into the Army eventually. That's my ultimate goal. In case you didn't realize it, I'm trying to get in between your ears and tell you that we're the best place there is because we're the best coaches, we're the best content, we're the best tools. But I'm telling you that because I actually believe it. I'm not telling you that because I'm just here selling a service. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe it. I wouldn't be putting this much time and effort in my own life into this if I didn't believe that we are the reason we are on the leaderboards is because we're really freaking good. Okay? Thanks for paying attention. It's been 40 minutes. I know it's long, but that sometimes things just have to go deep, and it's just the way that it is. But again, comment section, use the link down there in the bottom, dfsarmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP. Trigger that 20% off. Twiggle that 20% off. My little Porky Pig imitation there. I'm getting a little bit delirious, so I'm going to bow out of here. We're going to go back in. We're going to talk a little bit of coaching with the guys inside the coaching forums that are VIPs. The rest of you have a good day. Hopefully you learned something from this. Hopefully you want access to this tool, and I will see you on the inside. Take care.